Hello once again, and this is the latest edition of Sober Second Thoughts, a relook at what happened in the past week. My name's Rick Zamperin. Unfortunately, the Tiger Cats were not participating in the Eastern semifinal, nor did they cross over into the West and earn a spot in the Western semifinal. But nonetheless, we had two fantastic games last Saturday, so let's have a rehash at the Eastern and Western semifinals. And we'll start in the East, where the Toronto Argonauts earned a decisive victory over the Ottawa Red Blacks. Toronto was clearly the better team last Saturday. Big plays in the first half kept Toronto in the game, and Ottawa really couldn't keep up in the second half. And while I thought the Red Blacks played a fantastic first half, aside from the ill-advised squib kick just before the break, as you probably know, certainly if you watched it, you do know, Toronto got the ball on the Ottawa 40, kicked a field goal just before halftime. And while it wasn't necessarily the difference in the game, I felt that it really gave Toronto all the momentum coming out of halftime. Hate to say it, but Toronto gets full marks for their 58-38 win in the Eastern semifinal. Unbelievable. Out West, it was an evenly fought game in the first half between the Lions and the Riders, tied at 13. Saskatchewan, though, won the game in the third quarter. In my opinion, they outscored BC 7-3. The Lions had the wind at their back in that quarter and could only muster 3 points. In fact, could only collect 2 field goals in the second half. And Saskatchewan got a much-deserved 28-19 win. And I think this loss is going to allow BC more easily, if you will, to ship quarterback Vernon Adams Jr. out of town. Don't forget, Nathan Rourke will be the CFL's highest-paid player in 2025 and 26. VA's 317 passing yards and 2 touchdowns was nice last Saturday. The 3 interceptions was not. As for potential landing spots, certainly Calgary is probably a no-brainer. They would probably get right at this point in time, be at the top of the list. But what if Zach Collaros, who's 36, wins another Grey Cup in a couple of weeks' time, or just says to himself, I've had a good run, I'm done? And what if 38-year-old Trevor Harris, who knows, might make a magical run and win the Grey Cup, or just at the end of the season think, okay, I've had it. If Winnipeg and Saskatchewan now need quarterbacks, you have an arms race, especially in the West Division. That's going to be fun to watch because Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, and at least at this point in time, with Jake Mayer potentially not re-signing in Calgary, we'll see. That could be 3 teams in the West, all needing a QB1. By the way, who's going to win the East and West finals and book their spot in the Grey Cup on November 17th? You're going to find out what I think on Thursday when Picks, Props, and Predictions drops at 3 p.m. Let's go to the CFL Awards because the nominees for both the East and the West for the most outstanding players came out. And I have my selections for you today. And I'm not apprehensive or anxious to share these. I have a great responsibility being one of the voters to offer my thoughts and pick who I think is deserving of accolades and recognition based on their seasons. And let me tell you, it's not easy sometimes. Most of the time, it's not easy. But here's who I selected for the CFL Awards for Most Outstanding Player. And we'll start with the head coach. Montreal's Jason Moss, my coach of the year over Saskatchewan's Corey Mace. Moss did not allow for a Grey Cup hangover and led the Owls to a league best 12-5-1. Mace had an outstanding year. The 5 or 6 game or 7 game winless streak that Saskatchewan had. That probably is going to hurt his chances, but both head coaches absolutely amazing in 2024. As for top rookie, Edmonton linebacker Nick Anderson is my choice over Hamilton Shamar Bridges. Shamar was outstanding in 2024. If he played the last 3 games, his numbers would have been even that much better. But Anderson was unbelievable for Edmonton. He led the league as a rookie in total tackles. He was tied for first in defensive tackles. He had 3 sacks, 3 tackles for losses, couple of forced fumbles, an interception, 5 pass knockdowns, a force on the Elks' defensive front 7. He's going to be a special player for a few years. Nick Anderson gets my vote for Rookie of the Year. For the Special Teams Player of the Year, I picked Toronto kick returner and punt returner Janarian Grant over BC kicker Sean White as the top Special Teams player. White was unconscious this year, almost automatic, and I know BC fans would love for him to be automatic last Saturday, but he was great in 2024. Grant, for me, he scored 4 special teams touchdowns, 3 on punt returns, 1 on kickoff return, the most dangerous return guy in the league. Getting 4 when the next guy only got 1 in the return game, that's pretty special. My choice for most outstanding lineman, Toronto's Ryan Hunter over Saskatchewan's Logan Ferlin. To me, this is a toss-up. 2 guys who are leaders on their lines, very effective, amazing blockers. And I know that Toronto allowed 5 more sacks than Saskatchewan, but the Argos ran for 570 more yards as a team. I think Ryan Hunter was a big part of that. The top Canadian, Winnipeg running back Brady Oliveira, gets my pick there over Montreal defensive lineman Isaac Adeyemi-Berglund. The latter was a force in the Owls' defensive front, but Oliveira is one of the top players in the Canadian Football League, period, as evidence of his MOP nomination. So I went with Brady Oliveira as top Canadian. My pick for the most outstanding defender, another tough choice because both players had incredible years, but I went with Montreal's Tyrese Beverette over Saskatchewan's Roland Milligan. Beverette had the 3rd most defensive tackles, 5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, couple of interceptions on one of, if not the best defensive units in the CFL, and Winnipeg will have a lot to say about that. Full marks, though, to Milligan and his CFL best 8 interceptions. That guy is a lockdown DB who almost cuts the field in half. He had an incredible season. And that brings us to most outstanding player, maybe the most contentious of the votes, because Bo Levi Mitchell did not make the playoffs, where Brady Oliveira and his team finished 1st in their division. Oliveira was a huge part of Winnipeg's success, and without Bo Levi Mitchell, I think Hamilton fans would have needed just one hand to count the number of wins that the Ticats accumulated in 2024. I went back and forth on this one, but it boiled down to these factors as to why I voted for Bo Levi Mitchell. Yes, I said it before, the Ticats missed the playoffs, and Bo got benched halfway through the year. But he broke Hamilton's franchise record and his career high for passing yards and was miles ahead of the next guy, more than 1,100 yards than the next guy for passing yards, and was miles ahead for passing touchdowns this season as well. Oliveira, another dynamic and dynamite year, but he had 181 more rushing yards last season. He had 6 more touchdowns last season, and last season did not win the MOP. Listen, it can go either way. I wouldn't be surprised if Oliveira won it. He certainly deserves it. I think both guys do. You can't have a tie. My pick is Bo Levi Mitchell. I will say this. Voting for the MOP awards, not a perfect science. There's so many variables, especially when you're going from quarterback to running back, or one player on offense, one player on defense. I always go with my head and my gut. The eye test. I watch all the games, and I will say this: feel free to agree or disagree. That's what makes this whole process a lot of fun. And I'll say this as well: every nominee should be congratulated for their performance in 2024. It was truly inspiring to watch, and good luck to them during the award show on November 14th. That is going to be awesome. Here's another show I want to tell you about, and it is the 24th annual Sport Hamilton Breakfast of Champions, and it is going to happen on Monday, December the 2nd at Carmen's Banquet Center, and tickets are now on sale online at www.sporthamilton.com. I'll be there. Come celebrate the top athletes, teams, and coaches of 2024. Tickets are $30. It's a great meal. It's a great atmosphere. Some of the heroes and stars of tomorrow might just be in attendance, which is pretty cool. Don't forget the 5th quarter show Seasons debuts on November the 19th, and Legends drops starting November 21st. Already doing a bunch of research on these 2 new features during the CFL offseason. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to learn a lot about the Hamilton Tiger Cats, seasons and teams and icons from years gone by. Picks, props, and predictions this Thursday. I went 1-3 last week. Womp womp. I'll do much better this coming Thursday for sure. And the 5th quarter show playoff edition continues Saturday night at about 9:30 Eastern time, following the Toronto, Montreal, and Saskatchewan, Winnipeg East and West finals. Thanks again for watching. Please subscribe, and Oski Wee Wee.